Hello, everybody, and welcome back to You Can't Win. This is Tom here, and I'm joined by Don as usual. Today we have returning guest Goatstein back. We're going to be talking about some more of the good old troop hate stuff, getting into Fort Hood and some of the wacky misadventures that have been going on over there. But first, we'll just check in with him and see how he's doing. I think he has some interest in learning languages or something he wanted to talk about.
Yeah, this has been something that we've talked about in, well, not you and I, but talked about in the cool chat for all the cool dudes about how to learn languages and such. And I thought that would be something interesting to bring up. Also, for new fans of me, I will not use my real name or my real face at all because the internet is full of maniacs, and this has been my position for going on nearly 20 years now. So you can call me Goat, it's fine. It's not my Christian name. But, yeah. Basically, the internet is like a dark forest in the, what's the name of that sci-fi series? I guess it's called the Dark Forest series. But basically, yeah, whether or not people like to say, oh, you're a coward if you're online and you're not using your real name, but it's like your personal virtue has nothing to do with whether or not some maniac's going to just swear a samurai blood oath against you. So I choose to keep my real life and internet life separate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. I always think of it just like, what's the benefit to me from sharing that information? Basically nothing. And what's the potential risk? Well, probably very little, to be honest, but there is some risk. So it's like all risk, no benefit. So it seems like a no-brainer to me.
What if you're a sexy lady with big boobs, though?
Well, maybe I am. Who knows? That's the whole thing with the anonymity, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, if you are, then there is a benefit, though.
For me, it's different because I write things sometimes and stuff, but at a certain point, it was also because it's like, you know, what were people going to be able to do to me, kind of thing, you know? It was like they were like they're going to get me fired from nothing, kind of thing, you know. So it was I was like, well, whatever. And it's also one of those things where, like, you know, decisions I made 10 years ago or something, you know, just buried any hope of being anonymous and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that's also
true.
Yeah, once you're out, you're out. It's like the Mexican wrestlers who lose the mask, you can't go back. But I mean, also with you, it's like somebody just needs to find your posts from 10, 15 years ago, even if under your pseudonym, where it's like, oh, this guy said we should regard the dead troops as little Nobel Peace Prizes. Which I agree with. I'm not roasting you for that, but it's not something that's going to play well with the pipe fitters in Peoria, shall we say?
That's a big part of our market demographic, actually. So
yeah,
maybe I'll edit that part out there.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So as far as the language learning was going, I wanted to I just mentioned that in passing because I know that's something that we were all interested in. And it was something that came to my mind because people were talking about, like, what's the best way to learn a language and so on, and I have thoughts about that. But I was more interested, just to start with, like, what is your... I'll put my balls on the table first. I've learned Spanish, I can read Italian, and I have a couple of other... I have another meme language that I learned from the online. But what is your experience?
Yeah, so I guess I have very, very slowly learned a small amount of French. Like, I can read newspaper articles and stuff like that. But I learned a bit of German in high school. Yeah, but I have failed at learning a lot more languages, kind of thing. Like, I've taken courses in like a bunch of things. Like when I was in China, I took some Chinese courses. I took and stuff, and it didn't pan out and stuff. I probably know 100 characters in Chinese, which is not a lot. That's you have to know thousands of them, I guess, to be literate. And so this will probably, the skills would probably benefit me because I don't know. I feel like at this point I kind of have a handful of languages that I might be able to level up in a bit, but we'll see, kind of thing. I want to learn French enough that I'm fluent one day, and to be able to use it in work and stuff. And then eventually it'd be nice to get my German up to like being able to use it like as like a tourist or something like that kind of thing. And but I don't know. Chinese, I think it'd be neat to like learn more, but I'm kind of skeptical that I'd be able to go all the way with it. So yeah.
Okay. So I grew up bilingual with English and Finnish, and my Finnish is very rusty, and it's sort of like third grade level, so some of my vocabulary is kind of funny because it's like the kid version of a word.
Mm-hmm.
I learned Spanish in school. I learned Turkish in college. Those are probably the next two strongest ones. And I don't know. I consider those to be like languages I can actually speak or understand if I could like watch a movie or something and understand what's going on. Or if like I hear it in the street and I can tell what they're talking about. Maybe if it's not like 100%, but if I can kind of like follow the conversation, then I feel like that counts. So that's where I'm at with those two. I did study a little bit of Italian and French like when I was younger. I wouldn't say that I could really speak it, but they're close enough to like Spanish in a lot of ways that I can kind of like make sense of some things and everything. So, and then Arabic is sort of between the Spanish and Turkish, and then the French and Italian. Like couldn't really speak it, but I can often like understand what people are saying and stuff. And
yeah, that was going to be my second question. My first question was you can hear you can hear and understand Turkish on the street. You mean dogs barking?
Yeah, I mean, I can write in it. It's a bit rusty at this point, but I can write in it. I can watch a movie or a TV show and understand it perfectly
that'd
fine.
Be fun.
I can
get to watch Turkish Star Wars in the original Turkish.
Yeah, they actually have some cool movies. There's this one film director. I'm forgetting his name now. It's like Nuri something. But he's done some cool movies. Once Upon a Time in Anatolia is a pretty good movie. Not a lot of dialogue though. It's very like brooding, silent, like kind of stuff, and then every once in a while someone says like shit.
Yeah, and I said to Goat earlier that you probably know like a lot of the Arabic terms, just like in general kind of thing, from So what Goat would call the moon worship.
Right. Yeah, I think people maybe sometimes assume that like if you know a little bit of Arabic from like Islam that you can speak Arabic, but it's really kind of different. Maybe it's somewhat similar to like the Latin vocabulary in Catholicism or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like you learn prayers often in Arabic. You learn the Quran that's in Arabic. A lot of times at the mosque, the khutbahs, the sermons will be at least partially in Arabic, and so you kind of pick up on a lot of stuff.
I've heard that you have to like learn standard Arabic, and then you have to learn like the regional in order to be able to speak anything, because the Arabic stretches all the way from Morocco to Indonesia, so God knows how many variations there are that are almost unintelligible. But
yeah, I mean it's pretty regional. Like if you're in the like I don't know, like the Arab heartland, like an Iraqi can speak with like a Saudi or someone from Lebanon or whatever, but Morocco is pretty different. That's called Amiya. It's like colloquial Arabic. And then Fusha, which is like the standard Arabic, is what people generally can like know that across the the Arab speaking world, because that's like the official kind of Arabic that they use in like news media and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's somewhat closer to classical, like Quranic Arabic, but it's really not. It's much closer to like modern colloquial Arabic. But if anything is going to be closest, it would be that.
Well, that was kind of the reason why I wanted to bring this up. Is like, how did you not more just our bragging about how we can speak languages, but how did you learn Arabic? Was it just from the Quran? Right. Did you find other things?
I probably picked up the most from spending some time in Jordan. I was there for about a year, Jordan and Palestine, and just like kind of, I don't know, immersion. That's what people always say, I guess, and I kind of agree that immersion is the best way. You really learn much faster than classroom or I guess apps. I haven't tried any of those apps, but
Like Bart in the classic season 1 Simpsons episode.
Where he goes to France, or yeah.
Or he goes to France and they put antifreeze in the wine. Yeah, actually that's how I started, and it still consists of most of my ability. I started with the Duolingo app for Spanish, and Spanish is the best language they have on that app. It's the most robust. But even after that, it'll taper off after a while. So you have to do kind of outside stuff and building flashcard decks, and then another website I used. So basically, what I started with was Duolingo, which nowadays I think actually they've done some updates since I first started around 5 years ago. It's actually fairly comprehensive. There's some stuff you won't learn, especially like cursing. That is a fairly major
sure.
Thing that isn't in there. And then there's a flashcard program that I learned called got called Anki, and basically you create your own digital flashcards, and you just go through them, and if you got it, it's a good. If you barely got it, it's hard. If you failed, then it'll remind you again tomorrow, that sort of thing. And I've made over 11,000 flashcards in Anki over the last 6 years of just various words that don't appear in the Spanish language Duolingo, or that do, and just 5 years ago I needed to remember that, but now I don't, and it'll come up and like, what the hell is this? But I'll leave it there. And then after Duolingo gets done, there's another website called Closemaster that I used to help polish up, which is sentences that are translated by a community of language learners, and you have to pick the missing word in the sentence in order to move forward. So it's a little less, honestly, it's a little less quality, because they're created by random assholes online, as opposed to a professional app. But it does give you a broader depth of stuff and a more realistic grasp of the language, which is what I would recommend doing once you get done with Duolingo, at least for Spanish.
Mm-hmm. So, and what do you use Spanish for at all? Is it just to learn it, or do you does it, have you traveled a lot, or?
It's a hobby. When I first started, my wife and I went to Puerto Rico a couple years ago, and I was not good enough to do it, and that kind of kicked me into doing it more. I don't really use it for work. At this point, it is essentially just a hobby. It's more that I was well, first of all, I did it in high school, and I was like, oh, God, I'm never gonna get this. And then that, and then also just being bored at work, and fuck it, I'll learn Spanish in my downtime instead of playing Tetris or whatever. So
yeah,
that was the main motivation. More just a hobby, as opposed to anything that was something that I would use in my day-to-day life. Although now that I consider myself fluent and the pandemic's over, I think I would like to go down to Mexico City next year and talk to the locals and such.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool.
Sounds cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's what I would recommend to people who are listening here. Just at least for the big languages that people want to learn, I think Duolingo is pretty good to get you rolling, and then from there are communities online that will help you from there.
Yeah, that's cool. Tabs was using Duolingo for Turkish a little bit, just because I don't know why exactly, just for fun, I guess, but it seemed okay. It seemed like it would teach you words, but it's not really going to teach you how to speak exactly. Maybe really basic sentences, but I don't know if it would make you able to hold a conversation or something.
Yeah, that is the main problem, because it's not talking to a person. There's really no opportunity to learn how to speak. You just kind of learn the words, and then you can speak a little bit just from understanding the vocabulary. But if you really want to practice your speech, you have to actually talk to a person.
Sure. Mm. Yeah, I've never gotten into this thing of just learning it as a hobby. That I feel like I would need some kind of other motivation to learn it, and then in that case, it would be easier other ways, right? Like if I have to learn a language because I'm moving to a country or something, then it's easiest just to kind of get there. You do a little bit of legwork, maybe you take a class or something, but you just will end up picking. I don't, at least for me, like you will end up picking it up. So I don't know.
Yeah. I moved to Montreal a few times, and I mean, in Canada, you learn French in high school and stuff like that, or in grade school, whatever, like just kind of on your way up. And I did not learn much from that process, other than I think you learn like some basic things, kind of just get drilled into you. But I forgot it pretty quickly because I just thought like, oh, I'll never need this for some reason. And then I went to Montreal on some like immersion thing a few times, and it's funny because I probably have taken the equivalent of the first year university French like 3 or 4 times, and it still hasn't like completely sunk in. I'm just not good at it, kind of thing. And it's a lot of it is just because I haven't had a lot of opportunities to use it. But I mean, enough that like, you know, I lived in Montreal for years, so it's like I can navigate, kind of thing. Like it's, you know, you see the words everywhere and stuff, and you just know the basics, so it's fine. But like I was never good at like just sitting down and like sort of drilling on the grammar and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Tell those fuckers they're white and they're north of the Rio Grande. They need to speak English. That's on them, not on you.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite. I think that like English, you know, is going away. It should go away. I don't know. Anglo hell. Yeah.
And be replaced by French? I don't know about that.
I don't know. Maybe like Spanish or Chinese or something. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll hold like a vote, like a worldwide vote. What should like be the world language instead of just default English because Americans are rich. I don't know. You know.
Oh God, it's gonna get hacked by 4chan, and we're all gonna speak like language, make language face.
Somehow Hebrew wins. Like
yeah.
What? How did that happen?
Yeah.
You're anti-Semitic for guessing there was some reason for that.
Yeah.
I'm very strongly against that idea of like a one world language. I like the variety and multiplicity of languages.
Yeah.
I think they're important.
Yeah, I don't really mean that we should all speak one language. I just mean that like we should get rid of English. Just so like, you know, we'll just displace it because it's a failed culture. So we'll have to like move on.
Yeah, we should deconstruct it back to its like component parts of like the old whatever Frankish and Norman and all that stuff, old English.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're right back to French. Look at your hubris. Look at where it's gotten you.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure.
On the topic of this is a good segue. On the topic of language learning and also into the Afghan stuff, Reality Winner got released from prison recently, and she was a translator. I think she spoke Pashtun, and I don't even remember a couple of those languages. It would be good to use in the Middle East. She finally got released out of prison for being just a Russiagate lib, and I can't remember how many people she killed. I think it was 600. I want to say that. She was officially credited as having 600 confirmed kills by her ability to speak Arabic and Pashtun and telling the drone operators where to go.
Wait, who is this?
Reality Winner was the source for some of the intercepts reporting a couple of years ago about how she released some classified document that said, like, the CIA thinks that Russia's talking to Trump, which is like, okay, I'm not saying that's wrong, but like, you don't need to leak a classified document about it. Just turn on the TV. It's obvious.
Oh, that's her real name.
Yes,
Holy
her real
smokes.
name is Reality Winner. Yes.
I thought this was like some Twitter poster or something.
No, that is her real name.
Well,
her mama done named her Reality Winner. Her mama, Mrs. Winner, is like, I'm gonna double down on this shit.
Yeah, I don't know if you can claim to be Reality Winner if you end up in prison for that long. That seems like a major setback.
Yeah, didn't they like sort of mess up that interaction too, the intercept, something like that? Wasn't there some
Yeah, to some extent. From what I remember, the problem was that she got some classified documents and she leaked them. So even if the Intercept did everything correctly, they probably still would have found her. But the Intercept also was like, "Hey, are these documents legit?" to the FBI without crossing out identifying numbers on when they were accessed and so on. So that was not good on their part, but they probably would have found her anyway. There's only a certain number of people who have access to these documents, which once again were not anything important to know. You could just ask the CIA if they think that Trump talked to Russia, and they would just tell you. So,
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
She's a butcher. That's the important thing. Sometimes
yeah, that's wild.
Sometimes you have to get Capone on tax evasion.
Yeah, I thought it was the opposite for some reason. When I heard people saying that she had a kill count or whatever and stuff like that, I thought it was that because she leaked the documents, there was some documents or something that revealed the names of people or something, or so.
No,
I always thought that,
not at all.
But it was she just went ham on people.
Yeah, she was a translator for the Air Force drone program, and in her official duties was acknowledged officially by the Air Force as having, I want to say 600 confirmed kills. Let me look this up.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
It is quite a lot.
Yes, it is exactly. It is 600 confirmed kills, which I know because I created a meme, a who would win meme, which was 20 of the most notorious murderers of the last half century. McVeigh 168, Kaczynski 3, Eric Rudolph 2, yada yada yada. Anders Breivik 77, Elliot Rogers 7. Bunch of these guys, and then some serial killers down there, who in total over the 20 equal 599 confirmed kills, and then one lib with a stupid name, reality winner, 600 confirmed kills, hashtag hoorah.
Yeah. I wonder,
Wow.
the translating there was probably she goes into a village or something, and they're like, "Please, we need food or something," and then she's like, "Yeah, they said they're planning an attack on Madison Square Garden or something like that, whatever, you know."
Yeah, why not? I mean, hell, it gets you more medals for your fucking Soviet general ass.
Yeah. So, I don't know, maybe we'll transition now into the Vanity Fair article we wanted to talk a bit about, which is, okay, so the title that they use on the website is, "The Only Thing I Knew How to Do Was Kill People, Inside the Rash of Unexplained Deaths at Fort Hood," by Mei Zhang, July 6, 2021, so it's just a new article. And so we'll put the link in the description as well. But, yeah, so near the start of the article, it has a pretty tough opener. It says, last year, at least 39 Fort Hood soldiers died or went missing. 13 killed themselves. 5 were murdered. 11 of the deaths remain unsolved, some legally, others for the victims' families. And so it kind of walks through some of the recent deaths at Fort Hood. This was just last year, 2020. And yeah, it's a pretty tough article. I mean, but it kind of gets into some of the different, I mean, it kind of blurs together at some point. It's just all terrible troop stuff kind of thing, So that's also the same base where in 2009, that guy, Nidal Hassan, shot a bunch of people, 13 people. So I don't know. And there's only 45,000 soldiers on the base, apparently. So you got to think that if 39 die in a year from, bad circumstances kind of thing, whatever, that's 1 in 1,000, which is pretty not, that's not a rate you want to see in general. So, yeah.
I disagree. But
okay.
Go on.
Sure.
Well, I mean, I think what's odd, especially, is the nature of the deaths. It's not like people are just committing suicide or something like that. It's it seems like targeted killings. People are getting, I don't know, they're finding bodies in their cars with multiple stab wounds. It's made to appear like some kind of suicide or something, but it's the facts don't really add up. There's a bunch of these
Yeah, they're
odd
the
circumstances.
TLDR is that these people are dying, and it's not just suicide. It's obviously the troops have a lot of those, but it's not just suicides. It's murders that are made to look like suicides for a lot of them, or just they just disappear and like, oh, he just got drunk and wandered off and decided he was going to shoot himself 4 times in the head, kind of deal. The thing that really stuck out to me in this article, and it's not really new information for me as a longtime follower of the troops, but the thing that really stuck out to me as an example of it was what they call when people call when they talk about hating the cops, they talk about the blue wall of silence. Like, one cop will fuck up and then nobody will snitch and it'll go away. And that's at least as true as it is for the troops, not just here, but in dozens of articles I've read over the last 10, 15 years. And in this case, the only thing that's really different about it is that they're killing other troops. It's not just, some Iraqi guy, we decided we're going to blow him away, and nobody said anything, and it just kind of went away until we all got to go home, kind of deal. These are fellow officers, largely women, largely people who were bullied by the other troops. They get murdered or raped and murdered, and the other troops not just kill them. In any organization, there's going to be a couple of psychos, but it's not just that guy kills them. It's that everybody rallies around that guy, and not just even that, but the local police rally around the military and say, okay, we're not going to worry about this. He was a loser. These things happen, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond that too, as you're saying, like they'll have like these investigations that looks like where, at first maybe it might be like, oh, it's a suicide or a lover's quarrel and all that kind of stuff. But like then the investigation seems to just be like, well, we found out, oh, okay, well, maybe he did kill this girl or whatever, stuff like that. And then it like the details of it are like, basically other people had to be involved in different ways in different murders and stuff, or there's like a chain of people that had to have some information about what was going on, or would have stood in for someone, or like forged records or something like that kind of thing, and then none of that gets investigated at all. There's no like follow up on that kind of side of it,
Yeah, the main story in this was the story of some woman, I don't remember her name, which is on me, but some woman who was a troop who went in to go requisition a gun or something, and there was a guy who was stalking her, and everybody on base reported that she got what she was looking for. She walked out and drove off. Like a bunch of different people verified this dude's story, but it was. This is verifiably. This isn't a mystery. He was full of shit. He killed her.
This is Vanessa Guillen, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
But the thing here isn't that he killed her, which again, I might go back to that. Shit happens. I'm not saying it's good, but these other people on the base all affirmed what was completely bullshit alibi, with no apparent reason to do so. They probably weren't involved in the killing. It's just more like, oh, this guy's a fellow troop, and we don't want to get him in trouble. So yeah, that girl walked off the base. We all saw it, kind of deal. And if the thing I want the listeners to take away from this is that if they're willing to do that for an innocent woman who's also an American and a troop, what are they willing to do for the enemy, quote unquote?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that's a theme in the article, is talking about like that these people are basically warped into killers and things like that kind of thing. That it's like if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail kind of thing, like attitude. And but it's funny. I was looking on her Twitter, Mae Jung's Twitter, and it says like. She says, like, it goes without saying none of the criticism of the U.S. military should mean a disavowing of the men and women who served there. Our solidarity is with the people, not the institutions. And I find it hard to ratify that after,
Right.
'cause, I don't know, there's something beyond the institution at that point, kind of thing. If they're,
This is too broad to talk about, but that's kind of been my philosophy for a while. There is like, all right, well, we're going to criticize the institution, not the people. What is the institution made of, if not people?
yeah.
Who's doing this? Who's covering it up? Is it aliens from another dimension? No, it's fucking... Anyway, that is kind of my a guiding light of my whole philosophy and my misanthropy, which has left me a bitter shell of a man. But there was another thing I wanted to talk about, which is, like I mentioned before, it's not just the troops covering it up; it's also the cops covering it up, and this is something that is in this article. Let's see here. So, on August 17th, Sergeant Elder Fernandez disappeared. Fernandez had been stationed at Fort Hood in January. Skip this. He reported to Fort Hood abusive sexual contact from an officer who he alleged groped him in a supply room. He transferred to another unit, where he was called another snitch and worse. He called his mother. A higher-up called his mother to tell him that he had not shown up to work for a few days. He was found in the Army hospital. He said they wouldn't share much, nothing about what caused him to be hospitalized, and said that he was using an insecure hospital baseline. A few days later, they spoke again for the last time. As soon as I get out of the hospital, I will tell you everything. Fernandez was dropped off at his friend's house the next day, August 17th, never to be seen again. When Alina contacted the military police at Fort Hood, they told her that Fernandez was an adult, and if he was missing, he likely didn't want to be found. If she wanted to pursue things further, she would have to file a missing persons report with the local police. The police told her that he was an adult and that they would not report him as missing. When Alina offered the Fort Hood authorities the contents of her son's car, including a laptop, iPad, and external hard drive, they declined to investigate further. I'm astounded that nobody is interested, the Fernandez family lawyer Lenny Keston told me. Is it possible Elder was murdered? Is it possible that Elder killed himself? It's possible. Don't they care what happened? If he killed himself, don't they want to know why? And that's really the thing that I think is the most important to take away from here. Is not just that these people are assholes and scum, but also that everybody kind of knows and they're just kind of going along to get along.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part of the story, I don't know. Some of this stuff sort of rang some bells for me. It sort of reminded me of things around like the Son of Sam stuff. Like there's the kind of alternative theory around those killings that it was like a satanic cult of like numerous people, not just the one crazy guy that thought the dog was talking to him, that kind of thing. And I don't know if anyone's seen that recent Netflix documentary. It goes into the book that I can't remember, Programmed to Kill, I think it was called. Anyway, it goes into that guy's theory, and he does a bunch of investigation and finds that like this cult did exist. It was operating in that area in New York, but it also like had connections to a kind of another cell or another kind of another group that was operating in a army base in North Dakota. And they were up to like weird stuff. They were like, apparently like all these German shepherds in the town kept going missing. That was happening in New York too. They found like hundreds of dog skeletons and corpses and stuff. But there's also people who were
what was it, Chinese New Year? Hey-o.
Oh no.
But you know, with these like killings where it's like made to appear like a suicide and stuff like that, that was happening around this base as well. And I don't know, it just sort of like rang some bells for me, you know, like Aquino being a sergeant in the army, in like a psyops, like whatever it's called, branch or department or whatever. It seems like there is some weird stuff around that. I'm not saying that this has anything to do with that necessarily, but I imagine that there's a lot of overlap or like it complements one another. You know, this kind of like code of silence sort of deal going on with the military, and then having this like weird cult murder thing going on.
Yeah, and even if it's not like a conspiracy, I mean, maybe the cops were just covering up because he was a troop, and you don't want
Sure.
to cause
Yeah.
trouble.
I think that's probably what's going on. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it kind of.
Well, I'm just saying I'm not a conspiracy guy, but yeah, that is one thing that has never really been dealt with by a lot of the people who are skeptics of this sort of thing. Is that the CIA did have a mind control program, which I don't believe worked, but who knows how many people it made crazy, even if they couldn't control them, kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah, that's kind of what I was getting to with this guy Elder Fernandez, because he was kind of going nuts, right? Like it goes on, and he started to talk. Was it this guy, or maybe it was a different guy? But anyway, starts to talk about like he thinks the CIA's after him. No, this is somebody else. It was actually a different guy, Edward Castile. But he thought the CIA was chasing after him. He started to act really erratically and all this kind of stuff. It just makes me wonder, like, the army or the military had like the Phoenix program, and that was intimately connected to this. Like you were talking about the mind control programs the CIA had. Essentially, it was just like extreme trauma, inflicted upon a person, and it just destroyed their mind. And a lot of the people that were victims of that behaved very similar to this, and then you see a lot of these weird killings happening in the same way. I don't know. I think there's something to that. I'm not saying anything specific about this case, but I think I know it all kind of lines up.
Don, do you have anything to say? Because I have a funny story about that. If you want to comment first before I
I'll tell my story after yours.
All right. So the story of mind control is actually very darkly funny. So in Korea, in the Korean War, captured U.S. POWs would show up on the TV and on radio, and they would say, I committed war crimes, I'm a piece of shit, etc. And the official explanation was that they had developed a mind control technology to make them say these things, which the most obvious thing is that that's true, and the second most obvious thing, the most obvious thing is that what they're saying is true. They were committing war crimes. They were killing civilians indiscriminately. We know that as a fact. But the other thing is, even if that's not what you want to believe, it's like, okay, so where's the editing? Like, they have a gun to the guy's head and say that you committed war crimes or we'll kill you. That's not really mind control. It's just like, the editing around it. But they needed to have an excuse for why these guys were saying this, so they came up with mind control. So, and the thing is also, you have to understand that the people in the CIA are idiots. They're, at least in that time,
not all of us.
The thing is that these guys were idiots. One of the most famous scandals for the CIA was they all got tricked by James Randi, a literal stage magician, who tricked them into believing that some of his operatives were using psychic powers to bend spoons and communicate over long distances. And there was like the better part of a decade of research around this until he finally, pulled the ripcord and exposed these guys were idiots who were just buying whatever they were told.
I have some ideas about that, if I could interject real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
I think that kind of stuff is... I'm sure there were probably people who sincerely believed in it. Like, there were people who weren't, like, clued into whatever, behind the curtains deals and stuff that had to sign off on it, I'm sure. But I think a lot of that is, like, cover for various things. I think the whole mind control... Like, the MK Ultra mind control stuff... It seemed to be a response to a belief that the Chinese communists had something like that going on. And basically what they discovered was that they were just torturing people, or, whether or not that's true, I don't know. That's what the CIA was telling, like, internally telling their people, right?
Right. No,
okay,
I'm not arguing with that. What I'm saying is what you just said is exactly true. So they were not actually they were not actually mind controlling people. The Chinese and the Koreans were actually not mind controlling people, but they came to realize that over time. Meanwhile, they were funding these experiments, and the cost of those experiments was they kidnapped a bunch of people, and gave them like drugs and tortured them and
Yeah.
put them in rooms on LSD, which nobody knew what a hallucinogen was back then. So it drove them crazy, and they were just trying to break their wills to do mind control. But the whole premise of that whole program was based on a ridiculous fiction that there was such a thing as mind control that somebody else had figured out, and they had to catch up in order to compete in the market of clandestine operations.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my point is, I think that a lot of that is just like covered for the budget. They have to kind of acquire a budget so they have a story, and if it works, it works. It doesn't matter who believes and who doesn't. It may be just something that everyone kind of goes along with because it provides money to something that they want to do, and it can kind of be under the cover of like, yeah, this is part of that whole mind control thing, and then you can kind of do whatever you want with, what I mean? So,
well, I see what you mean. As a non-conspiracy guy, I take a different approach on that. I feel like people are dumb, and they were essentially just playing with a Ouija board and freaking out that it was giving them all this information. And they didn't realize it.
Sure.
They didn't realize that that's what they were doing until it became untenable to think anything else. So that's my position, is that they thought they had something really important here and something really powerful until it became clear that they were just doing quackery because people pulled the rug out from under them. That's my opinion.
All right, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don, you had something?
Yeah. So, my story is less interesting, but it's more relevant to me because it's about Canada. So they recently in, I think it was Nova Scotia, the Canadian military. So there was like people started getting leaflets that said that there was like a certain type of wolf attack in the area, to be like, be wary about this certain type of, I think it was like gray wolf or something, some sort of certain type of wolf that like they said was, popular in the area now for some reason, and like was attacking people or something like that. And people, I guess because of social media and stuff, people almost instantly were like, what the hell is this kind of thing? Like it's obviously fake or something. And the military admitted that what they were doing was handing out fake leaflets to see if they could track people online, like see the spread of the idea that wolves were attacking people in the area, and then see if people claimed that they actually were attacked by wolves. So they wanted to like do basically a military science experiment to see if they could psyop people into believing that they actually were attacked by wolves, even though that they weren't actually attacked by wolves. It was just like their thing. And their attitude to this was just to go, yeah, sorry about that. And it was just like, like we were just trying to mind control people basically. And they didn't like, no one's, apparently I was reading today that like no one has been like sanctioned or anything for it kind of thing. Like the idea that like you can just go and practice this sort of thing. And it's funny because the way that like it was kind of sold was almost like, well, it was a wild idea they had to just go do this kind of thing or something and stuff. I think to me it's more like it seems that like this is the thing that they think they're supposed to be doing. Like that's the approach to citizens they have, kind of thing, or something like that. Is that citizens are very easily, led to one conclusion or another. They have to be able to like fight the war of information and all this kind of stuff. And it ends up like with stuff like where in Britain they had like that whole institute basically set up just to fight Corbyn kind of thing. Like they set up this like semi-public kind of thing where it was like, fighting online misinformation campaigns, but it was just completely like, criticizing Corbyn for being anti-Semitic and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like so it's this weird area now where like, it's like they're fighting an information war, but like just completely like, fabricated ideas. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they whatever else is true, they are kind of afraid, obviously, that like they've lost the complete control of information, for sure. That's not even a conspiratorial thing to say. They used to have 3 networks that all more or less said the same thing, and now, like it or not, there's 10 million assholes who have, an audience who are saying whatever they want, and that's not really productive to the manufacture of consent.
Mm-hmm.
So just to get back to the article, I thought that the most interesting part to me was this part 3, where it kind of gets into the history of the base and the town. Which, I don't know, it sort of like really paints a picture here. Like, it talks about how this town was, like, a lot of land was confiscated to build the base,
Right.
from like thousands of people had their land taken for this, and it was eventually built up to become like the most densely populated military base. Cost $35 million, had at its peak 95,000 soldiers on it, 35 firing ranges, 18 chapels, 3 bowling alleys, and 1,384 barracks. 3 bowling alleys kind of really tells the story for me. Like, you don't just need 1, you need 3. That's how many people were on this.
Mm-hmm. Named for a Confederate general too, which I don't know. I know they're changing this now. They might be like, isn't that like the plan? They're gonna rename the bases, but like, yeah, that's a cell phone right there by Americans to like name their bases after Confederates. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, wasn't that the guys that we defeated?
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, the town, it's in Killeen, Texas. It was apparently a hotbed of Klan activity. They didn't have any black residents until the 1950s, which sort of, I don't know, like, reading about the different deaths and stuff, it seemed like a lot of them were Latino, and it was just kind of like, maybe that's kind of an aspect of this.
Yeah.
It was talking about how, like, a huge part of the population have ties to the military. 2/3 of the entire town are connected to the military in some way.
Mm-hmm.
That a lot of the, like, immigrant communities there, the immigrant population, are Korean, Japanese, and Vietnamese, and it kind of says that a lot of them are like war brides, that they kind of came home with soldiers and made little like sushi restaurants and stuff when they got back here. Yeah.
It's a pretty impressive nexus of evil. Oh, the other thing from that article that I thought was really interesting was it was also built on an Indian burial ground, and
Yeah.
they did mention that like some girl walked onto the military base and got bad vibes because as soon as she stepped foot on it, her rosary exploded. Let me see if I can find this part here. That was really great.
Well, now I missed that part. The satanic cult thing is kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were going to set up a cult on a military base, why not pick the one with the bad vibes and that was built on a burial ground,
Yeah.
you know?
It is kind of weird that the Pentagon is a pentagon. I just gotta say, I've always thought that. Oh, here it is. I felt a bad vibe there. Lupe says, referring to Fort Hood. One of the first times she stepped onto a base, a rosary she had been carrying in the palm of her hand tore apart, its beads scattering over the concrete ground.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought it was also good that one of the people mentioned to the author that she should stay at the Marriott because the Marriott was the better of the hotels because like for like it was safer or something. So maybe this whole article and even the killings might have been like some sort of like Marriott promotion kind of thing, like to get people to read the article and go, oh yeah, maybe next time I'll pick the Marriott because it seems safer.
Yeah.
So
Less demons.
Next time you're vacationing in Killeen, Texas.
Yeah.
I'd pick a hotel if its like advertising slogan was less demons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of slogans, I guess the slogan for, or the motto or whatever for this place is "The Great Place" is what it's called. There's like a big thing outside the gate. It says Bernie Beck Gate, welcome to 3 Corps and Fort Hood, the Great Place, and then a bunch of emblems and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Seems good. Seems like not a clue that you're in hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Great Place because it's in quotes, like on the sign
Yes.
thing there, so it almost looks like it's being sarcastic.
Yeah, and they also said that it was like it's like basically the entry and exit point for troops that are going overseas, I guess, for the army, I guess. Yeah. So, I think that's probably plays into maybe part of the extremes. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of guys coming back with PTSD and that kind of thing.
I'm not sure. Yeah, or afraid of leaving and stuff like that. I don't know.
Sure.
Or guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, is that considered part of PTSD if like you're just sort of like messed up emotionally from that?
Talking out of my ass, yes, that's all PTSD is guilt for the crimes you've done.
I knew a guy with PTSD from his tour. He was not really fun to live with. He was bizarre for reasons that I assume are outside of his military experience, but his PTSD had him like really jumpy. Like anything that woke him up, like any sound woke him up in the middle of the night, he would just be like immediately in like adrenaline kind of like combat mode or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he was this was when I was a student. He was also a student, and he said he would get really panicky and anxious about people like reaching into their backpacks in class and stuff like that. He was like hyper vigilant, Doesn't sound fun.
No. Yeah. So, do we have any more on the Hate America beat? Easy to dance to.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to relate this all to was Biden pulling the troops, at least the last of them, officially out of Afghanistan. And the one thing that I have noticed is, ever since that has been announced, is that there have been more stories about the Afghanis and, their struggles and, oh man, what's going to happen over the last 3 months since the announcement that I've seen in the last 15 years. The hangers-on of the military-industrial complex are desperate to make you give a shit about the Afghanis again, now that it will possibly make them stay in Afghanistan for another God knows how long. So that's the context of all of this, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we're in agreement. So moving on.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I just, I'm not sure where. Like, it is a strange thing. I don't know. I guess David Brooks had a thing today that came out. I think that like said basically like the U.S. was abandoning gay people to like the regimes kind of thing, like going on about how having a foreign policy that is more favorable to like Hamas or something or the Taliban is like letting gay people suffer to be isolationist kind of thing or something like that, which I thought was funny because I don't know, it just seems so crass now that I don't even know who buys it, but yeah.
Yeah, but there's bad parts to the occupation too.
Yeah, okay.
How many openly gay people are there in Afghanistan? I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, they got that whole bachabazi thing. I don't know if you need to be...
Is that where they fuck little boys?
Yeah, that's like...
That's not gay, that's just correct.
Right, like, I don't think they have a... I think the idea of, like, a gay identity, it works a little different over there.
Mm-hmm.
Don, you're the expert.
It's actually the warlords that we're fighting are the people doing that. So if anything, we are empowering the gay community in Afghanistan by leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously that whole thing is bullshit. David Brooks doesn't care about anybody outside of the United States, let alone gay people. It's all just a way to justify American military intervention. And you'll see, people have yelled at me already. People are gonna yell like, "Oh, don't you care about the Iraqis or the Afghanis who are gonna get killed when the Taliban takes over?" And it's like, I mean, yeah, but to the extent you care, which is not at all. So, I mean, I would prefer in a perfect world that they don't, but you don't give a shit, and you're just using them as a weapon against me, and I'm not gonna bite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're not preventing death by like having a military occupation. I don't know. I feel like you have to kind of justify that first before you get to the point of like, well, the Taliban take. I don't know. It's just very telling that it always jumps to like these cultural kind of things of like, well, the Taliban are icky in these different ways that I don't like. I wouldn't like to live under them. Therefore, NATO forces is probably fine. You know, that's probably better. I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Yeah.
Well, part of the problem is that it is the worship of the troops. It's like, if they were there to save the Afghanis, you would have to accept a much higher level of death of the troops than you're currently willing to. If they're a threat, if they're pointing a gun at the troops, and the troops see it, and they have to talk them down, and in a decent percentage amount of those situations, the troop is going to get killed, and you have to suck that up. If your goal is to save the Afghanis, then yeah, a bunch of our boys are going to die, but you are not willing to accept that. So the only thing that can happen is that we try to keep our boys safe, and we just fire, bombs and anything that looks at us funny, and somehow it doesn't work. So troop worship is a major stumbling block on actually trying to do anything that you want to accomplish in these countries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's also just an extremely complicated situation. We did an episode, I don't know, what is it, like a year and a half ago with our friend Ibrahim. And if you listen to that one, or if you go back and listen to it now, it's just obviously more complicated than just like, oh, are we gonna save the Afghan people from the Taliban or not? Like that's just not how it's.
Look, I don't know your friend Ibrahim, but I can assure you, I know more about Afghani internal politics than him. So
okay, sure. I mean, Afghani is the currency, and Afghan is also the nationality. But
that's what you think. Sure I just established I know more than you. So why are you correcting me?
Yeah,
sure. He's been doing Pashto on Duolingo for the last 5 years, so he knows how to say television. Yeah.
I know how to say where are the boys.
All right, question time. This one is from Cowboy Flint, one of the few not anonymous questioners here. This show has gone on for an awfully long time without ever broaching the topic of cricket. Now, I don't know much about the sport myself, yet it still fascinates me. What are y'all's individual opinions on cricket? Have y'all ever played? Normally, when people say y'all, it kind of annoys me, but he is a cowboy, so I'll allow it.
Sure. So how about you, Tom? You actually lived in India, I guess, and that's so I guess it's pretty popular there.
So I played a little bit of cricket. I don't really understand the rules properly. And the skill, like baseball skills, don't really translate well to cricket exactly. Like bowling is kind of the term for pitching, and it's very different. And then the batting is different too. But it was fun. I don't know. It seems cool. The games go on very long. Like they're multi-day games.
Wow.
Yeah, so they like play for a period of time in a day, and then they kind of like obviously take a break and then come back to it the next day and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think if I had to like explain the rules for cricket, I would get maybe like 10% of them even like within the ballpark kind of thing. Like not even like I would be able to be like, so there's like, you got like a bat and then you're like near these little sticks or something. That's about it. Like, I don't know.
You have to like, you hit it. You get to decide when you want to run. There may be some sort of rules around that, but that's my understanding. A 6 is like a home run. If you hit a 6, that's like a home run. I think if the bowler gets the ball to like knock the back wicket off, like that's a kind of like a strikeout sort of a thing. I don't know.
Totally mysterious. Yeah.
How about you, Goat? Any thoughts on cricket?
I have nothing to add. Next question.
Okay. Are bottomless virgin mimosas a scam?
Bottomless virgin? Is that just orange juice?
I don't really know what goes into a mimosa.
I think a mimosa is just champagne and orange juice.
Yeah, so maybe that's the scam. Yeah, it's just orange juice.
Yeah, I guess it would be, unless you have something to do the job of, like something substituting for the champagne.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe like
yeah,
ginger
soda
ale
water
or
or
something.
something.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to say yes. That sounds like a scam.
Unless you like orange juice, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
It's just orange juice. It's not a bottomless mimosa. It's just bottomless orange juice.
yeah, fair.
I,
But if that sounds good to you, then that doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah, I guess that's not a scam if you like orange juice.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think, Tom, you should take the side of this because it doesn't have alcohol in it. So it's like
Sure,
the other,
that's fine.
It's like if you had actual bottomless mimosas, you'd end up in hell or something. So yeah.
Yeah, that would definitely be a scam. You're
Yep.
scamming yourself.
Yep.
But
In heaven, you get 72 bottomless virgin mimosas.
yeah, I mean, if it's like $15 or something for the orange juice, that's definitely a scam. It has nothing to do with the alcohol or not, but like you're basically paying for the alcohol and not getting it at that point.
Sure.
Let's see. There were 83,576 abortions in Canada in 2019.
A good start.
Why is yeah, that's almost like what 5% of the whole population or so. Why is so much of the Canadian left focus on the deaths at residential schools where there is a bloodbath of children every year?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you know what's funny is that because of my position online now, this could be a joke or it could be serious. Because I see stuff like this now.
It kind of sounded like someone trying their hand at Donald posting.
That's true. That's true. But it also, you never know. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I'll just accept the joke. I'll just accept it as a joke. I'm not going to riff on it. I'm just going to say, because it's a little tasteless.
Rookie numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, my answer is, sir, I've already told you I don't know for 500 yards within a preschool. Please leave me alone.
Okay. Hey, fellas, I was going through your back catalog, a perfectaruni of delight, and I noticed aside from tabs, it looks like you haven't had any women on as guests on the show. Is that just a coincidence, or are you trying to subtly discourage free mixing? Alhamdulillah. We've had other women guests. We had Alana a couple times. With Molly, we had Sid on.
Mm-hmm.
We've had Goat on several times.
Yeah.
I'm sexy. The problem is, as you say, women can't read, so how are they going to follow the instructions to get onto the server?
It's always a struggle.
Sure.
Yeah, I usually have to get a guy on to like kind of help set things up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we get some real weirdos on this one, so that's why it's so male focused. Because we respect the women too much to.
Maybe, not to cause trouble here, but maybe Tom is keeping women off the podcast so they don't fall in love with you, so he can keep you enslaved to his podcasting empire.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
I can't confirm or disconfirm that.
Sure.
Okay. Is Tom willing to admit that he was retarded for investing in Bitcoin? Yeah, possibly. And also helping to destroy the earth in the process. Okay. Is this what he meant by ethical consumption? Yes, that's exactly what I meant. Yep. I always talk about ethical consumption, and I meant destroying the earth by buying Bitcoin.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that it's one of those things where people are... It became a meme thing to say that it's destroying the earth. It probably is, but like I don't know how much more than anything else, kind of thing. You know,
It's a completely stupid thing to say, to be honest.
Yeah, like it's like getting mad about like SodaStream or something like that kind of thing. It's just like a totally, I don't know. And
I mean, it's like saying using your credit card at the grocery store is destroying the earth because the financial system uses electricity. Like,
yeah, well, that's
Bitcoin uses the same amount of power. It doesn't matter if you buy it or not. It's not like you buy a Bitcoin and then like some computer like turns on and starts churning away and stuff. You know, it's just really dumb.
Well, I think it is true that the credit card is destroying the earth too. It's just that it's just such a collective problem that trying to make it into like I don't know. I don't think you ever had said on here that Bitcoin's going to solve climate change or something like that kind of thing. So,
well,
yeah.
that's true, but then El Salvador is going to start doing geothermal powered mining rigs out of their volcanoes. So now I do think it's going to solve the environmental crisis.
Yeah.
So everyone should buy Bitcoin to save the earth. That's what I think.
Okay.
My position is your fans seem interested in roasting you guys. They should be nicer.
I guess I actually tend to like to read those ones. Those are the
Yeah.
most fun ones.
Sure.
I would never do such a thing.
Here's a fun question. Were any of Don's ancestors interned in the Ukrainian internment camps?
I don't think so. No.
Did any of them fall out of the guard tower at the internment camps?
But they were a few of them were socialists, and my mom was saying that I didn't know this before, but like because there was like a wave of like refugees after World War II and stuff. She said that like people that were like Polish or Ukrainian and stuff like that in Winnipeg tended to be called DPs, which meant displaced persons. So like like she was like, you know, people would be like, oh, she's a DP or something like that kind of thing, because they associated that with like people being refugees and immigrants and stuff like that. So it was weird. Like, I don't know, like, you know, because I'm just like extremely just a random Canadian guy. Like it's strange to think that, you know, my mom thought of herself as like part of like, you know, an immigrant community coming up and stuff like that. And I don't know. That's interesting to me. I don't know, like DPs. I don't know. That'd be funny to get like some sort of thing like that growing up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun to get DPs when you're growing up.
Sure.
I think that term was used like I don't think it's like a Ukraine specific term, because I think I read that I saw it in Gravity's Rainbow is where I think I first heard.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think but in Winnipeg it was used for like Eastern Europeans generally. So yeah.
Okay. Why don't you ever answer my questions? Is it because you are mean? Is it because I am a sedevantist?
Yeah.
I think that's like a Catholic.
It's like a person that believes that the chair of St. Peter, like the Pope, is vacant because they don't think that because they think that like somehow the church has fallen away from like the true teachings, meaning like just using Latin in mass and stuff like that. So there's a fair number of them now. It's like just like a crank thing generally, but like I don't know. It's very strange. Right now in the United States, like a lot of the stuff is getting it got whipped up again into a frenzy yesterday or the day before, because the Pope said that like the mass had to be, you know, less often in Latin, basically. Like he just restricted certain things, and that flipped like just the number of Americans that were like flipping out about it, being like the Pope is, I don't know, like I saw some guy being like saying that like, I don't know, like you just see these people that are like professors at like top schools and stuff, just like swearing at each other and stuff about it and stuff. It's funny, but yeah.
Whenever I hear about this kind of stuff, I sort of feel like if you are committed to the idea of the church, you got to just, you know, the church is the church. You got to, like, if you put faith in the idea of like this having like significance on like a cosmic divine level or whatever, you got to just go with it. Otherwise, I feel like you got to keep going down that line of logic. And then there are some very interesting other faiths that may kind of speak to, you know, if you're looking for like somebody who may be calling for reform of monotheism, and it says that, you know, people kind of went off the wrong track with things. I don't know, maybe continue down that line of logic a little bit further.
There's a big overlap between people that are like Latin is the real language of the church and all that kind of stuff, and people that believe that like Islam is like just barbarian Satanism or something like that. So
yeah, well, they clearly have done their research, I guess. Okay, This person says, I like pictures of naked man.
Okay.
Nice.
So that was Big Dave, I guess.
Is that the question?
Yeah, that was it.
It's not a question, sir, but yes.
France is gay?
Sorry.
Well, I like that. That sounds like, wait, what? France is gay? Like,
Show me the light.
I mean, if you were going to have to pick a country, I don't know if that would be like a surprising, like, wait, what? France? You know? Who is someone IRL or online who you think is most consistently wrong about things, and what is something they're right about?
Ooh. All right, I'm going here. All right, a person who I think most consistently online is wrong about things is Matt Iglesias. He's wrong about nearly everything. He's a big fat idiot, and I would kill him if... hold on. Take two. I would kill him in Minecraft if I had the chance. But he is correct about the increase in burrito quality over the last 15 years.
Oh, yeah, burritos are... Yeah, they're good.
Back in my day, man, burritos were shitty. And now they got, like, shrimp in them and stuff. It's great.
I haven't had a shrimp burrito. Do they just put them in their whole or chop them up?
Generally they're whole. I don't eat too many fish burritos because I'm a vegetarian, although my daughter will eat fish, so I'll have some. And they're delicious. Yeah, definitely a whole lot better than Taco Bell when I was a teenager. So, and, yeah. Matt Iglesias is correct. The burrito economy has increased to a great amount of ability, and it won't save him from my firing squad, but I have to admit he's correct on that.
My favorite thing about vegetarians is that when they have children, their diet has sapped them of all their masculine energy. They can't even imbue these values of theirs, these twisted, perverted ideas onto their own children. So it just dies in one generation.
It's more than
wonderful
like
how nature works.
It's more that like I'm not a psychopath, and I'm not just gonna show my daughter like pictures of torn apart cows and stuff. So like, if you want to eat fish, fine, whatever. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about you, Tom? What's a person that is consistent?
I don't know. I don't really pay attention to all these pundits and stuff. I what comes to mind are like these like really wackadoo Salafi, like Saudi cleric type folks. I think they get a lot of things kind of weird. But ultimately I think they got some basic ideas right. You know what I mean? Like they're Muslim, so they're right about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess I'll say I'm not going to name like a particular account, but like there's like a cluster of accounts that like do socialist history, and they do socialist history in the way that like a MAGA person, or like maybe not even MAGA, but like more like early 2000s conservative person might do history kind of stuff, like just terrible memes about like how, I don't know, like Reagan never increased the debt or something like that kind of thing, just like totally wild things, but like, just like really low level stuff. So they do stuff like all the time you see things where it'll be like the quote official propaganda sources from the Soviets or something saying something and be like, that's proof kind of thing or something like that. Like, so one of the big things that people do is it'll be like, Stalin said that like anti-Semitism was one of the worst crimes in the Soviet Union because and stuff, and they're like, that's proof he wasn't anti-Semitic. And it's like, that's not proof at all. It's like saying I don't know, it's like you could quote anyone saying that or whatever. Like, I don't know, like there's so many things like that.
Like Trump saying he loves Hispanics because he's eating a burrito bowl.
Yeah, it's basically like that. Yeah, and it's I don't know, and there's so much of it now. There's just like a flood of it. And the thing that bothers me is not that it's out there, which is one thing. It's that I click their profile and I see that there's like 100 mutuals or something like that, and I'm like, oh man, like, am I gonna have to like, shed all my friends again and go into the desert or something, So, because they are like, oh, yeah, oh, that's interesting. Stalin is not anti-Semitic because he said it was one of the greatest crimes. That's interesting. So, yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? What are they like? Are my posts and their posts like equivalent in their mind, kind of thing? If they're like, they're reading me and they're like going, oh yeah, he's mad about this thing that happened in Canada or something like that. I should tell him about that interesting thing that happened where, North Korea said that like they're one of the most democratic countries on earth, so that must be true or something like that. I don't know, very, very strange.
Are you familiar with the North Korea conspiracy theory?
Which one is this?
The one that everything that North Korea says about itself is correct, and that's why the U.S. is trying to destroy them.
Oh yeah, like I see that a lot. Yeah.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I don't know, Don. I think the sooner that you just kind of accept that we're all idiots and that everyone's just kind of like,
Yeah.
I think the easier it is to kind of just let that stuff flow over you. It's like, well, everyone's got their little thing.
Sure. Yeah, that's a very you can't win conclusion, I guess. But I don't know. Why don't we leave it there unless you have something else that you wanted to...
I have one last one.
Sure.
It's from our our friendly neighborhood white supremacist. He says, podcasting is a Jewish vice, as Felix Biederman, Adam Friedland, Brace Belden, and of course Will Menaker have shown to us. Sad to see two able-bodied Aryan men succumb to this disease.
All right,
Yeah.
There's a lot of fact checks I need to throw into here.
I'm not... Yeah, I don't know if I count... Yeah, I don't know if I count as able-bodied, so...
Or Aryan.
Or Aryan.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yuki scum.
Okay. Are Ukrainians not considered Aryan? Is that how it works?
Slavs are like
you're Slavs,
cattle, right?
I thought Slavs were like Aryan, but not like they're like subhuman culture or something like that. I don't
Your
know.
square brain would think that.
Okay.
No, Slavs are definitely an inferior race to the Aryans, according to the great minds of history.
Okay, well,
Yeah, he said while being led toward the grave, like, no, I thought we were Aryan, but like, yeah.
sure. Yeah. Well,
Get on the pierogi train, Don.
yeah. This is that is why I do tell people I'm biracial. So I don't know.
Yeah, correct. You should. They should be aware.
Okay.
Anyway, thanks, Goat. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for
I
coming.
would say Joe Rogan is not Jewish, so what is this guy talking about? He's the most famous podcaster.
Sure. He's Italian or something, isn't he?
I don't know. He's some kind of meathead. Thank you guys for having me on once again. I always enjoy it.
Sure, man. Always a pleasure. All right, so if you enjoyed this episode and you'd like a second episode of You Can't Win every week, you can subscribe to our Patreon and you'll get that, as well as access to our Discord where you can chat with us in our lovely community. If you want to send us anonymous questions, you can do that by going to the Twitter account @YouCan'tWinPod, and you'll find the link to the Curious Cat pin there. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Yeah.